On the 6th of September 2020, I lost a swim top. On the 17th of September 2020, I lost my grandma. How to Make When You Have Lost is a personal project that focuses on the need for making when there is no physical item left to make, by initially looking at historical and personal archives. Situating my work on the research edge of practice, I was using conversation about lost and kept garments to create a space for me to be able to make again. The words generated from the people throughout my practice was then made into a physical embodiment of my own personal loss. I see making garments as a conflicting piece of work. I have a difficult relationships to making them. I think because I hold my own worn items of memory in such high regard that the industry of fashion seems to let me down, though I know now through this course that there are good expanded fashion practices out there, and I aim to connect more with them as my practice develops after this course. Through connecting with people in this project, I have found there is still an importance to make new. It just needs to work in a different way. Garments write our journeys of our lives, as well as holding our secrets. They also hold ourselves up in times we wish to lay flat on the floor. I rearranged my wall for the final filming, as it felt like the wall was the publication and I needed to move on. Even the toile I was seeing as a sort of ghost of making, to remove scene research while I was gaining and wearing the weight. The garments that I made was this new vessel that I was trying to generate a relationship with, a new story to be made. Perhaps a forced one initially. I almost found myself not wanting to wear them because I had to. But that was my practice rule. But eventually they then became the natural mindset of the day. My practice uniform. The clothes became a way to generate conversation with others about loss and memory, and a way of working for myself for the grief that I was feeling. I got back in touch with all the people who I'd spoke to and sent them photos of the publication, the garments, and their specific drawings that became the Concertina archive. The feedback and responses were very positive of the work in general. Above all, they appreciated being thought of sending the work back to them and how I'd used their material. They all thanked me for including them. One mentioned how it was a privilege to be included with the other voices of the film, and another how it was comforting and kind seeing their words placed amongst others, in particular ones describing more sensitive and anonymous memories of clothing. They spoke of identifying with the drawings and how comforting it was to recognise the garments themselves, so the work then became this kinship of objects to continue the conversation with others. I recorded my wearing of the garments mostly in drawing, writing and tracing, but also in film when I could, to show the garments and the wear of them in everyday gestural way, but also performative nature. The garments were made in a traditional way of reconnecting my loss of tailoring skill, but used in a non-traditional way to work through things, to give myself comfort, as you will see in the next film, but also to show the viewers of how the apron can be used when in the dream space that I speak of. Glad it can't talk. On a journey with me, enveloping me, jumper fitted into my life in every single way a jumper could. The hoodie is still alive. Of that particular journey, somehow it came to me. I saw my shawl fly in the wind. Garment meaningful, but couldn't articulate that at the time. A little ripped from all the times I'd drawstringed my face up. Wore to death. First item of clothing I felt was part of me. Not so much lost. Wore it relentlessly. Frame on the wall. Worn huge holes into it. Wear as a reminder. Used and cherished. Reason to wear again. Wasn't even that nice. Hardened bits of glue and residue are cemented. Became a thing of comfort, frantically trying to throw me her knitted cardigan as a replacement, floating around in the sea, fall apart easily. Weight of objects, reassuring to know I had everything necessary, refresh the search fairly often. How did that get there? It wasn't mine. Ends up in the wardrobe of my daughters. Changes happens in cycles. Remember every time I wore it. Intention to wear again. Flaunting the faults. Make you feel like it's been designed with you in mind. constantly changing throughout life, no longer fits, still hold on to. Earliest traumatic memory, hanging undisturbed. In profession, we do not like to say things are lost. Couldn't replace. I try. Don't think I can remember. Forgotten. Thought of given away, even sadder. Devastating loss. Bittersweet. Whether it made it to the bin. Mourned it ever since. No, I don't enjoy it, but needs must. Nicked from the back of my car. Devastated. Really upset. Most upset. Is that bad? I got over it. Absolutely devastating. Misplaced. A period of my life I don't really remember. Something you don't know you had. Not in place. Big loss to the wardrobe. Left it in a bag on the bus. Too late. Melted it. Difficult relationship. Never considered lost. Still no idea where it is. You might lose it. Come clean. Irretrievable. Lay unworn. Stumble across. Left them behind. Imagine I lost them in some way by returning them. Loss in a looser sense. What I miss most is the memories. It was mine. I always had it. When I made the weighted objects, they initially weren't really anything. Formed off my textile making archive and wool gifted from Tara, to then literally just plain through weighted vessel shapes. But when I'd sit down at the end of the day to stitch in the weight, to hand weave the wool, to fix the porcelain weight to the ties, they changed the way I wore the garments, how I would move and how I would remember. The knocking of the weight in the arm, the fiddling of the wool in the waistband, the swinging of the vessel, the such slight catching of it in the hem. Each time reminded me of why I was wearing this garment. Everyone I spoke to seemed to speak of this non-existent weight, that when you speak of loss, it's just always there. It can't disappear. So I wanted to carry that with me as the wear went on, carry it for the people in my practice, and carry it for myself. Publication became a specific object outcome of this work. It was a focus on the object viewing, process of writing and making, as well as leading up to the wear of the garments, looking at methods for performance and wear. Although this is a personal exploration of my practice, I see the publication being distributed as a subtle reflection on the ideas of how creatives work in times of loss, as well as learning methods of how to look at objects in the archive in relation to memory and loss, with what questions to ask and how to generate work from them. I posted the mini zine publication versions on Instagram and will print more out to send to people in the post. For example, Ellen Sampson, artist and material culture researcher, who would like one, and others I would like to reach out to send to. I see practitioners like Ellen with how she works with museums but still produces her own work as a way of working I can really resonate with. The garments end up worn in the archive box. The drawings, the publication, the letters will go in also, as they would do if I was from an important time in history, if I was an influential person, or if I was no longer alive. This is an exhibition piece to show, but as they leave that setting, they enter the new space to become a tool for learning, to be donated to a gallery or museum's archive of collection of art or design objects that can be brought down off the shelf and delved into for memory and loss and learning. I think I'm trying to bridge the gap between research in the museum and making from it. Either way, I know the direction that my practice is finally expanding. I feel now I can describe myself as a practitioner when I couldn't before. My field has been in the museum archive as well as the conceptual field of the conversations of others about lost garments. I find drawing a natural output of working through a concept that I don't quite know where it's going, and by then referring back to my specialist knowledge rather than leaving it alone, helped me to develop the research and thinking further. I think I place myself somewhere in the realms of craft and fashion. Looking back over my work of the year with caretakers and seat change, and even within my internship, I can see similar ways of working and ways that I think that I possibly didn't realise was even part of my practice to begin with. I enjoy writing, drawing and researching, but more in a collaborative aspect, as well as using garments and ceramics as more of a performance of recording of everyday life rather than anything else, and I think that's important to show. When we look at museums, this is what they are all about. The recording of one-time, everyday object merged with the everyday of the viewer. Sheldon Anis's Dream Space.